You know how birthdays used to mean balloons and confetti, and now they're mostly a free dessert if you remember to mention it to the waiter? What if birthdays instead could mean more than just a number, more than cake you may or may not have to share with your kid? In today's episode, we're talking about getting older, but also getting yourself back. We're going to reflect on how far we've come, let go of what no longer fits, and step into this next season with more joy, peace, and presence. And I'll also share some of my own birthday rituals that are less intimidating than journaling because we're celebrating you becoming more of you. You're listening to the Free to Be Mindful podcast, where busy moms get practical tips and real talk conversations to find calm, joy, and a little more breathing room in everyday life. I'm Vanessa, licensed therapist, mom coach, and a mom to a tween and toddler. Each week, we get honest about motherhood and mindset, helping you live with more presence, less pressure, without losing your, well, here we go. Hello and welcome to episode 281 of the Free to Be Mindful podcast. I hope that you're feeling good, looking good, and doing better in this world than you were yesterday. So birthdays hit different once you're past your 30s, don't they? As kids, do you remember counting down the days until we were going to turn 13 and then 18, then 21? As young adults, we've celebrated milestones with friends, traveling, or girls' night out. But as moms, birthdays can feel just like another square on the calendar, sandwiched somewhere between games, school emails, work deadlines, and a home cooked meal if the kids are lucky. But I've come to see my birthday differently. Around the time that this episode airs, I've celebrated another year. And how old am I? I'll just keep it at mid-40s to protect my passwords and all. But you know what? I really don't mind saying my age because for me, age isn't something to hide. It's something truly to honor because all of these years carry proof of how much we've learned and probably how much we have yet to go. Though let's be real, while I do accept my age, these grays that have started shining through past the highlights, at this point, they're less peekaboo strands and more like, hi, we live here now. But when I look back, I can see so clearly that I'm not the same woman I was 20 years ago or even 10 years ago. I always measure my life, it seems, through my kids. I mean, mom life, right? And my son is turning 12 in just a couple of days, and my daughter turned one this summer. So basically, I'm living in between middle school and toddlerhood at the same time. Send help, please. But having that big gap between my two kids, it's kind of like a mirror that I look into. Because when my son was born, though I didn't read any of those parenting books, I did fall down every single blog rabbit hole and late night Google searches that you can imagine. With my daughter, let's just say the only book I've read is Goodnight Moon. And even with that, it shows how much I've changed because back then I was younger, more rigid, and truly more afraid of messing up. I read a lot, I worried a ton, I second guessed myself constantly. But now, while I'm still learning, I've loosened up my grip a ton because I know that love, presence, and repair matter so much more than perfection. And I'm truly a different mom now because I am a different version of me now. And that's a gift of aging. It's not about the lines on my face, because yes, I can see them, or the candles on the cake, because yes, there could be many, but it's truly about the evolution of oneself. It's really about seeing how far I've come and noticing how much more aligned I feel to the truest version of me. And of course, this doesn't all happen overnight because for years, like many of us, I over identified with the roles that I had. First, with being a teacher, then school counselor, then wife, mom, therapist. And somewhere in between it all, Vanessa got lost. Survival mode became my norm. Wake up, rush, juggle, stress, repeat. Pausing wasn't even part of the plan. And layered on top of that were all of the cultural expectations, especially for Latinas. We are taught to be strong, we're taught to self sacrifice, to put everyone else first. And there's an unspoken message that as we age, we almost fade into the background, or worse, We're only valuable if we're still doing it all. I talked about this in an article that came out for parents.com. I'll link it in the show notes so that you can read it below. And if you felt invisible at times or like the years have made you smaller instead of stronger, you're really not alone. But here's the thing, the struggle itself, it doesn't tell the whole story because if we zoom out, we realize that every survival season, every role, and every cultural pressure has also shaped who we are. What we sometimes miss, though, is that aging is less about losing ourselves and more about shedding the parts that really don't fit anymore. It's like taking off a heavy coat that you didn't realize you were still wearing. We don't have to hold on to the same levels or expectations forever. And the beauty of this stage in life is that we actually know ourselves better now. We know what drains us, what lifts us up, and what isn't worth our limited energy. And that right there is wisdom. And I am looking forward to how it changes and improves in my 50s and 60s, 70s, and so on. It's something that we truly could not have carried in our 20s, no matter how hard we've tried because it's something that seems to be learned with experience and time, which is probably why birthdays hit different now. They're not just about the cake and free Starbucks anymore. They're like different checkpoints reminding us how far we've come, and maybe even giving us permission to shift how we see ourselves, which brings me to how I see birthdays now. This year, I'm looking at my birthday less like a number and more like a checkpoint, a pause to look back at how much has changed and to think about what I want moving forward. Getting older doesn't mean fading into the background. If anything, it means standing more firmly in who we are. With every single year, I feel a little more grounded, a little more sure about what matters, and a lot less willing to carry what doesn't. And birthdays to me actually feel like permission slips, not the kind we used to need to sign for field trips, but the kind that excuse us from trying to be everything to everyone. Permission slips for mom sound more like permission to want more, right? To want more rest, more joy, and more time for just me. Permission to change directions if I need to. Permissions to let go of these roles and expectations that just don't fit anymore. Permission to rediscover the parts that I've tucked away for way too long. And yes, even permission to sip my coffee while it's still hot or to go to the bathroom alone. Although with a 1 year old and a golden doodle, that last part isn't happening anytime soon. But remember, friends, that it's never too late. Never too late to pivot, never too late to soften into joy or to give yourself permission to just be you. And because my birthday falls in line with the back to school season, I almost treat this time of year as my new year. Instead of looking at the calendar from January through December, I see September as a reset. And I do two things that have become rituals for me each and every year. And the first is I write my thoughts down. And yes, I call it writing my thoughts down because it sounds more sophisticated than journaling or than Dear Diary. But really, it doesn't have to be anything official or special. You can type it in the Notes app on your phone or scribble it on a notepad by your bed as long as you don't lose it. And when we do this, what really matters is pausing to reflect on where was I a year ago? Where am I right now? And then where do I want to go to next? And after I do my reflection, and I do write it almost in a letter format to myself, I then make an I want list. And I do this at least once every quarter. I put the date at the top of the page, and then I just write everything I want. And it can be small, right? Like a new pair of shoes or a bag I've had my eye on. But most of the things are big, like wanting to be more patient with my kids, wanting to go on more dates with my husband, and wanting to step on more speaking stages. The magic of writing it all down is twofold. One, you can come back later and see how your wants have shifted. And two, you can celebrate when you realize, wow, I actually did that. And when I go back, I actually check it off and I always put the month and the year next to it because life just moves so quickly that we're always on to the next thing. And we often forget to pause and to celebrate the wants that have been met, no matter how big or small, or the growth that we've lived into. For me, these practices are how I acknowledge and celebrate not just my age, but also this journey that I'm on. And here's the thing, we don't have to wait once a year for our birthdays or for January 1st or for the first Monday of the month to reflect on how we want to get ourselves back. Because let's be honest, as moms, I mean, we lose ourselves in between all of the titles: mom, mommy, bruh, wife, personal assistant, referee, Uber driver. You catch my drift. If we don't stop to check in with ourselves and if we don't carve out these little pockets of reflection, we risk getting lost completely in everyday life. And then what happens is that one day we look in the mirror and wonder, where did she go? I don't recognize this woman. That's why it's important to make these practices a rhythm, not daily if that feels impossible, but at least once a week. A small pause to remember the woman behind the roles and behind all of these titles. And listen, this is exactly what I help moms with through my private coaching, because I know how easy it is to get swallowed up by the doing of motherhood and lose sight of being yourself. Coaching gives you the tools and accountability to come back to who you are, to setting intentions for the life that you actually want, and to create calm in the middle of chaos that we find ourselves in. It's about reclaiming space for you without guilt. And then that's where mindful living becomes really powerful. First, having that awareness, asking yourself, what am I carrying around that isn't really mine? Whose expectations and pressures have I been infusing into my brain? Then making intentions, not what I want to accomplish this year, but more so, how do I want to feel this year? Do I want to feel more peaceful or free or brave? Then treating yourself with a lot of compassion, releasing that shame about where I should be by now, and letting yourself be okay with the winding, imperfect path that we know as life. Finally, having gratitude and honoring the exact season you're in. My daughter's giggles, my son's growth into middle school, all of the lessons, all of the laughter, and even the hard parts that have shaped me through this all. And that's how we get ourselves back. That's how we start to love the life we live and to live the life we love instead of always rushing to just getting to the next thing. So, my friends, let's take a moment together. I want you to start small. What do you want for this week? Maybe it's more patience. Maybe it's 5 minutes of quiet. Maybe it's actually to finish your coffee while it's still hot. I want you to just take a breath and exhale super duper slow, and then repeat softly to yourself, I am allowed to grow. I am allowed to change. I am allowed to rest, and I am allowed to rise. And one last reflection to carry with you is to think about, what is the version of me that I am becoming? How would you finish that sentence? And if your honest answer is, the version of me I'm becoming is a woman who finally gets to pee with the door closed, that counts too. Hold on to whatever it is that comes up and use that as your compass to guide your life, whether you're a September Libra like me or at any time during the year. My friends, remember that getting older isn't about losing who we are. It's about finding our way back. Each year, we're invited to come back to ourselves. So, cheers to another year of getting older, or as I like to say, getting wiser, getting smarter, and to another year of becoming more you. And if you're ready to make space for you again, not just the mom or the partner or the endless list of roles, but the woman underneath it all, I'd love to support you through Amiga Mom's private coaching. Together, we can create calm in the chaos, shift out of survival mode, and help you feel like you again. You can find that link in the show notes to book a free 60-minute discovery call. Remember that if this hits something for you, please share it with a mom friend or an amiga mom who may also benefit from this message. And of course, remember, you're always free to be mindful. Catch you next time.